All right, how's it going, guys? It's been a while since I've made a video. It's Steve with Interglobal Comics. Just been tied up, was doing a lot of traveling and busy with work. And probably one of the biggest things is my wife started surfing with me, so now we've literally been surfing every day for about the last 6 months. So that's pretty much taken up most of my time. So not a bad thing. Been having a lot of fun. And now the kids are back in school. Hopefully things will slow down a little bit with work, so I can try and make some more market report videos. But I wanted to make one for sure tonight because the Comic Connect auction is currently wrapping up, and some of these numbers are pretty insane. We had high hopes for the Heritage auction last year, or it might have been earlier this year, but high hopes for that one, and the results were kind of lackluster. And then the Comic Connect auction, earlier this year went pretty well, definitely better than the Heritage. But the auction tonight really kind of blew me away with the numbers some of these books are getting, and kind of made me realize that I need to stop selling some of my books for way too cheap, because I'm selling some stuff for 20% of what they're selling for on Heritage, and I need to probably just wait until, or not Heritage, but Comic Connect. I need to probably wait until they just have another auction, and just kind of hoard my books, slab a few of my duplicates, and send them off and see what happens. But here we go. I'll get started here. So first up, this is a Batman 232 from Brazil, 4.0. Pretty, kind of a mid-grade copy for Brazil. This one for $7.47. First, Ra's al Ghul. Not a super hard book to find. That's kind of one thing I'm noticing as over the years that I've done this. The Brazilian kind of 70s keys, they're not, I don't think they're quite as rare as we thought. There seems to be more kind of popping up. But yeah, in $7.47, solid price for a 4.0. Not high grade for Brazil, not terrible, but definitely a respectable number for that one. $8.38 for this Batman 251 that was, I believe, incomplete. It's a 0.5. It says page 3 missing. So I got super lucky maybe a couple months ago, and one of these popped up, and it was a legit copy, popped up on eBay for $3.99, I think it was, around $400, and I just immediately pulled the trigger and bought it. Kind of thought I maybe overpaid at the time, and foreign market's kind of been up and down, and really the whole comic market in general. But this sale, I'm thinking my copy's got to at least be like a 3.0 or 4.0. So this sale definitely, proved to me that I made the right choice buying that, as long as it comes back legit. It looks legit, smells legit, everything looks legit about it. But until from CGC, you just never know. And even CGC's been fooled in the past and has slabbed the bootlegs as originals. But I think they've gotten a little better, with the foreign market, in the last few years. So yeah, $8.38, huge sale for this, incomplete Batman 251 from Lebanon. Huge sale for this for the Spider-Man 300 from Greece, 8.0, white pages, really tough book to find. Does not have the Spider-Man 300 story on the interior, so it's like a cover-only key. Sold for $1,178. This is becoming extremely hard to find. We've had guys in the foreign comic group kind of asking, basically the 300s and the Spider-Man 129. Those are like the big set books that people are trying to build. So any of these really hard to find keys in those sets, they're just going astronomical in price. So, great sale. It's a pretty high grade copy, 8.0. Even though it's from, I think the late 80s, early 90s, it's still not easy to get in good condition. I've got one, but it's pretty beat to hell, but it might end up in the slab here sooner than later. Batman 227, 7.0. sold for $1,148. This book has always been popular with foreign collectors. Just the simple cover. Less busy than the American cover. This Brazilian cover looks great. The coloring, everything. So this one definitely went for higher than I think I've seen it go in the past. I'm not sure. I haven't really kept track of what. I've obviously keep track of this stuff, but I don't like write it down. So I might have reported on one last year, but I don't remember what it sold for. But definitely a super solid sale for that. 7.0 I would consider, it's pretty high grade for Brazil. I would say anything over 5.60 is going to be considered high grade. This one actually went a little lower than I would have thought. Action Comics 252, 569. I might have tried to bid on this one if I would have known it was going to end around here. But I'm not really buying much right now, so probably better off I didn't. But definitely a super hard book to find from Lebanon. First appearance of Supergirl. You don't see these come up for sale very often at all. $5.75 for this giant size X-Men one from Denmark. This book I think was printed in 1993. I probably can't read, but yeah, it's not an older book. It's a newer 90s book. Oops, what did I do there? But yeah, sold for $5.75 for a 9.6. 9.6 is going to be probably top of the census. I'd really doubt this. I would see a 9.8 come up, but who knows? I didn't probably think I'd see a 9.6 either. These books weren't really well cared for. Denmark being in Europe, they did a better job of caring for their books than probably the Mexican or Brazilian collectors, or the more of the Latin countries in general. But $5.75. That's not a amazing sale, not a terrible sale either, for kind of a newer key giant size from Denmark. Action Comics 250 or 242 from Brazil. First appearance of Brainiac, 562. So I think a 5.0 sold for over $800 at the last Comic Connect auction. So this is kind of in line. This is a lower grade copy, 2.5 for 562. I stupidly sold my I think it was a 5.0 or 4.0 copy, my extra copy. I sold it for, I think, around $500 on eBay a few months back. I'm kind of learning that eBay is good if you need money, and then doing private sales to people on Instagram is good, but you're not going to get anywhere near what you're going to get on these big auction houses. And some of these books I've sold for, much cheaper than they're selling for recently on, to people. So like I said in the beginning, it's kind of a learning experience. I've never sold at a big auction house, but I think it might be a direction I need to try. Because otherwise people are just profiting off what I'm selling them anyways. Unless some people are true collectors and they're never going to sell it, and I always like giving those people deals. But I also do sell to a lot of people that are just going to flip it. This is the Action Comics 1 from Brazil, 2.0, sold for $9,431. This was printed, looks like, in 1940, so this is raw. So I'm assuming it's probably pretty big and they couldn't slab it. That's why it's still raw. But they say it's 2.0, and huge. I've never seen one sell before, and it was definitely a huge sale. I'm sure that was one of Sky Ott's books. He's Kamikaze. He's a well-known foreign collector. Pretty much has the biggest foreign collection in the world, or one of them. And he's definitely been kind of pumping up this auction because he's got a lot of his big books in here, or a lot of big books in here. I know he's got probably plenty more, but I'm sure he's happy with that sale. It's a huge sale. So yeah. 4.0 Adventure Comics 247, first Legion of Superheroes, sold for $5.72. Not an easy book to find. This is one book that I had that I sold, and I really regretted it. And luckily I was able to have my friend in Greece find me another one. Mine came back, I think, as a 6.0 or 6.5, so I was definitely pretty happy with that. But what I'm kind of realizing as time has gone on, like I never was into Superman as a kid. I was always into X-Men and Spider-Man, stuff like that. So I'm kind of need to go through my collection and really figure out what I need, what I want to keep, and what I want to possibly sell. Uh, because there's a lot of comics, American comics too, that I don't own that I would love to own. I've got an X-Men 1, but I'd love to have like a nice looking giant size X-Men 1, and just other keys that really mean a lot to me. So I don't know. We'll have to see if I might end up putting some of this stuff up on the auction block once Comic Connect does another auction. So this is one I actually threw in a couple bids on just because I was like, why not? It's another pretty tough, well, actually really tough to find Lebanese comic, Detective Comics 359. This is the first appearance of Batgirl. This one is restored, but really with these Lebanese books, it doesn't matter. It's super hard to find. There's three. I think I just bought a Swedish Detective Comics 359. So there's only three more I need to complete my set, and they're the three most impossible ones to find. It's the Turkish, which is basically impossible. One of the guys in Singapore just got one recently, which is pretty great. Or was it one of the Singapore guys, or was it Nick Joe in Canada? I can't remember. All the foreign collectors kind of run together. But we're all friends. It's just hard to keep track of what everyone gets. But yeah, so there's the Turkish, which is impossible. There is the Arabic, which is really difficult, and then there is the Venezuelan, which we're having currently some issues with. I don't know if anyone has a copy of that book. I think all we've ever seen is pictures of it. But some scumbag in Venezuela realized there was a big demand for it and started making fake versions of it. He was cutting up old Navarro Batman comics and putting them into a bind, and then printing out new covers. So a few people got screwed over by that, but I won't go into detail on that because I think they're still trying to work it out. But yeah, so those are the ones I'm missing from my set, and those are the ones I'll probably never own just because they're really, 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 really hard to find. But it's fun to search, fun to just watch these books. This one, if I really wanted it, I could have bought it, but like I said, I'm not really buying much right now. Just kind of watching, sitting back and watching and enjoying. Let's see, Detective Comics 400, the first appearance of Man Bat 6.0, which is pretty solid for Brazil. Sold for $330. This one was kind of surprising to me. This is the Fantastic Four, the Dutch edition. This one I don't think is that old. I think it's from the 80s. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's from I think that says, I think that's at 1985, but I'm going to mess this all up trying to look. Yeah, I believe it's from the 80s. So yeah, for this to sell for $862 is pretty surprising, being that it's much newer book. Anytime you see where it says Fantastique Four Classic Car, basically that's telling you it's a classic book, classic cover. So they do that a lot in Spain. They do that all over in Europe, where they kind of reprint these classic keys, but they're not old books. They might be from the 80s, the 90s. It's still cool to see the cover, but for this to pull in that much money, I'm pretty surprised by that. Kolos Incredible Hulk #1, huge book, sold for $4,203. 3.0. This book is extremely hard to find. This is a nice copy, even though it is low grade, but huge sale for that. And whoever sold that, I'm sure, is very happy. Because this book is definitely getting the respect. It's definitely one of the hardest Incredible Hulk ones, the foreign editions, to find. So now I haven't spoken about that one. We've got this one, Incredible Hulk #1 from Israel, the classic, Hebrew text on the cover. This one is not that old either. This one's from the early 80s, but it's just incredibly hard to find, and there's a lot of people looking for these. So I got lucky. I have 2 copies. Both are 4.0s, I think. Maybe they're both 4.5s. I can't remember. But definitely I'll be sending one of those in for the next auction, because this I've had offers in the past for $2,000, and I thought that was a crazy offer. Like, wow, that guy really wants my comic. But at that time, I only had the one copy, and I was like, hey, it's not for sale, no matter what you offer me. Now I have two copies, and now I'm willing to sell one of them. So I think I'm gonna have to put it in the next auction, because this was a pretty great result. But yeah, beautiful book. Definitely one of the most sought after foreign Hulk books and foreign books in general. This is a Brave and Bold 28 7.0, which is high grade for Brazil. 3,450. So that is a super good sale there. I've seen these sell raw, for 500 to 1,000. So for this to go for that much of a premium is definitely a good sale. And it says there's only one graded higher. I think there was a 8.0, I think, that Josh had at the last sale. I don't know, it might have been Heritage he sold that one at. I don't remember what that sold for, but I don't think it was anywhere near this high, but I could be wrong. All right, Daredevil 1 from Denmark. This one is from the 1960s, older book, sold for $862. Classic cover, classic character. Stuff from Denmark isn't super hard to find, but it's definitely deserving of a good price like that. All right, so now we get into kind of the weirder stuff. So Amazing Fantasy 15 from Italy. This was printed in 1970, I believe. It does not have Amazing Fantasy 15 inside. It has a random Spider-Man. I think it's Spider-Man 18 on the interior. I can't remember. And then there's a Doctor Strange story in there. But for 5.0 to sell for this much that's crazy. I just sold a 3.0 to a guy, and I think I sold it to him for $400. And I was like, that seems like a pretty solid sale based on how much I paid for the comic. But these have gotten they're not like, they're hard to find just because the Italians won't ship them to you. If you go on eBay Italy, you're going to see a bunch of copies, all for way less than this price. Some in decent condition, but the Italians just won't ship to America. I think they've had too many issues with it, and now they're just done. They don't want to ship to America anymore. So it's gotten hard to get a hand on a copy. I have one that's restored, or has a purple label. It has like a tiny bit of glue on the spine. I think it's a 5.0 maybe, or 4.0. But I didn't pay anywhere near this much money. I think I paid a couple $100 for it, but definitely not $1,700. But great sale, and some of these Italian books really surprised me. So a German Batman 251. Not the hardest of the Batman 251s to find. These pop up on American eBay quite frequently, for way less than $862. But this one's slabbed, white pages, so it's a cool looking book. Definitely a classic foreign key. Like I said, not the hardest to find, but you got to be careful with these. I'm not sure, it says manufactured with a piece out of page 11, but there's actually a coupon on, I don't know if it's page 11, but one of the pages in the book, it's on the corner, and it's almost always clipped. So I don't know if CGC accidentally graded one that had a clipped corner or not, saying it was supposed to be out. I'm not sure. But so something to keep an eye out for. So huge sale for the Batman 232 from Mexico, 6.0, for $13.22. I'm not sure what this in this grade. I'm not sure if this is selling more than the American copy is in this grade, and that's a huge sale. But these Navarro keys are really difficult to find, really sought after, and this I think is one of the harder ones to find. It might not be the biggest key, but it's been one that's been kind of difficult for people to track down. So this one really had me scratching my head. This is a book that I used to import whenever I would get books in from Italy. and I'd be like, oh, Avengers 4, it's kind of like a partial Avengers 4 cover, pretty cool. I used to sell it for like $30. Maybe I sold one for 35, 40 at one point. But never really thought much of it, so I had some pretty nice copies, sold them. And then to see it sell slab 6.0 copy, which, shouldn't be that hard to get out of Italy, for $1,200, that just blew my mind. And that's a huge amount of money on a book that, in my opinion, is not hard to find. But I also haven't looked for one in 5-6 years. So that probably, they've probably gotten a little harder to find than they used to be. But pretty interesting, cool kind of variation on the classic cover. So this was the Action Comics, the Paquito 251, had the page 1 of Action Comics 1 right there on the back cover, 0.5 because it was missing the centerfold, but somehow still sold for $9,173. So I guess that's the page everyone wanted, because that's a huge amount of money for that comic. But pretty cool to see it go for this much. I know, at the Heritage auction, I think, is when Josh first auctioned off his page. I forget what his went for. I think like 3,000. But that definitely kind of started a trend, because I've seen more people selling these, and they are extremely hard to find. There's not very many people that have a known copy of it. So yeah, when they come up for auction, they're going for big money, and especially this one with that page, the first page of Action Comics 1. This one, not the best sale I've seen of this book. Marvel Spotlight 5, 8.0 for $420. At one point, these I think were selling, for even more money than this. But I think kind of the Ghost Rider, Marvel Spotlight 5 spec has kind of quieted down a little bit. So that's probably affected the American prices, so maybe it has a little effect on their foreign prices. But I've always loved this book. I've got a 7.5 or 7.0 that was top of the census for a long time. And it's just a great looking book, great colors on it. And these Italian books are definitely pretty, like the quality on them is definitely much better than the American books. But it's crazy to me that this sold for $420 when this sold for $1,200, and this sold for $1,700. I would have thought with those prices it would have gone for over $1,000. Excuse me. All right, so this is the La Masa Mundi Comics. Excuse me. Signed by Stan Lee, went for $17.25, 6.5, which is a pretty decent grade for this book. But it's signed by Stan, Herb, John Romita, and definitely not a super hard book to find, but signed by those three guys, it's definitely gonna give you a premium. So yeah, this one went for $17.25. So I feel like this in that grade probably would have sold for probably closer to $1,000 without those signatures on it. But with those signatures, really kind of shot it up to that next level. So great sale. Definitely something you can't recreate now. You can't get Stan's signature on any more foreigns. So there aren't a ton of foreigns out there with his signature. So it makes those that already have them on them, worth that much more. Non-canon Satanica cover, sold for $19.50, which is definitely a strong sale. This has always been kind of like one of the books to have of the non-canon Spider-Man. But I don't know if I've ever seen one sell for this much. And this is getting, they were going for $500-$600 for a while. Then a couple hit over $1,000, including the wedding issue, and then the wedding issue blew up last year. So I guess some of those other key non-canons are going to start just increasing in value, kind of after the fact of the wedding issue blowing up. Another one that blew my mind, another Italian, Corno, Captain America 100. This was an extremely common book. You could have bought 10 of these at a time off Italian eBay 5-6 years ago for $4 a piece, and here we see one selling for $1,100. So definitely solid sale. Whoever sold that is extremely happy with that sale. So this is Superman 1 from Spain, and kind of a cool format, sideways format. And it's his first appearance in Spain. And this one went for big money, I think, at the last auction. So this one, this one blew it away, though, I think, with this one being at $4,140 for a 2.5. So solid, super solid sale. These are books you could have bought off Spanish websites, auction sites for, $100 less than a year ago. Oh man, sorry. I got just something stuck in my throat. Terrible timing. All right. Creepy Worlds 32. This is the UK edition or UK version of Fantastic Four #1. 6.5 sold for for $1,600. Let's see. Excuse me. All right, so this is the Avengers 1 from Australia. It's sold for $2,612. 3.5. These are super hard to find. Beautiful redrawn covers. I'm not sure the artist's name that draws it. Still strange that it says Kirby cover art in the label when it's obviously not Kirby. But, that's how CGC just does it sometimes. But yeah, big sale there, $2,600. All right. Showcase 22 from Australia, sold for $1,437. I believe one of these sold raw recently, and it went for $400 or $500, I think. So that was a good sale compared to this. This one went for 3 times that amount. So yeah, definitely some big sales in this auction. Definitely wasn't expecting this auction to blow up like it did. Just kind of with where the comic book market is right now, and but I do hear a lot of people saying, like, right now people are just buying rarity. They don't care about all the keys, the modern stuff anymore. That's manufactured rarity. They want actually rare books, and that's what almost all of these books are. Except for a few of them. These are like this right here is I've only ever seen one copy come up for sale, and it was last year. So yeah, these are extremely rare books, hard to find. So apparently people are the word's out on forums because these prices really blew me away. All right, and then these last few are still actually going, and they were almost out, but they were probably going to keep adding time to it as more people bid. But this one, Superman, this Mexican, like the chain breaking Superman cover, this was at $15.85 when I last checked. This one's going huge. Tales to Astonish 13, First Appearance of Groot, really hard book to find. 7.5, which is very high grade for that, at $4,600. So yeah, it's a big one. And the one that I was really interested in seeing what they would do is the X-Men 1 from Mexico, because I have a copy. It was sitting at $2,655. So maybe I can pop in there and see what they're at now, or what they ended at, because I'm sure they're over by now. Let's see here. Okay, so the X-Men 1 went for almost $5,000. So that's definitely a major price increase from the last auction, I think. And I think I possibly had the last 5.0 sale on eBay a few years back, and I paid $3,200, I think, for mine. So it's going up in value, which is definitely a good thing, and it's definitely worthy of that price, because these are not easy to find. Definitely very difficult books to find. So the Avengers 4, which is Avengers 1 in Mexico, signed by Stan Lee. So obviously you're gonna get that Stan Lee premium. went for $14.69. So great sale there. Kind of surprised by this one. This one's really tough to find. First appearance of Ant-Man, Tales to Astonish 27, Mexican edition for $900. There's that group from Brazil, went for $5,520. And then the Superman Pepin went for $2,700. Oh, wow. I was kind of watching this one too. This is X-Men signed by Stan Lee. This is a Brazilian. I think this is the first appearance of X-Men in Brazil. Kind of a cool drawn cover, with the X-Men, the classic X-Men there with Captain America and the Avengers. I don't know. It's not a key story inside, I don't think, but it is a very popular book in Brazil because it is, I think, the first appearance of the X-Men over there. 0.5 restored. Strange Tales 110 from Mexico for $250. I guess this one is still going. I don't know. It looks like it's frozen. $465. $293 on that Brazilian Silver Surfer 3. Oh wow, $583 on the Showcase 30 for $7.5. That's from Brazil. All right, so yeah, pretty mind-blowing auction for me. Let's see. So hopefully I didn't screw that all up by holding the phone a different way. But either way, you can see it here. Big sales. Lots of money being spent. All right, I think that is it. Sorry about the coughing and possibly holding the phone the wrong way. I'm at work right now on my lunch break, and I'm probably late to getting back to work. So I will hopefully make another market report sooner than later. Congrats to anyone that was selling books there. And hopefully, if you're bidding, you got what you wanted. But you really had to shell out some money tonight to win. All right, have a good one. Bye.